Well, welcome. Thank you, everyone, for joining the Tech Tidbit this morning on Flipgrid alternatives. It is definitely something that has been on the forefront of a lot of people's minds, I think, especially because Microsoft, who had purchased Flipgrid a few years back, actually, from that product that started out as a homegrown Minnesota tool. Then they made some great improvements, I think, to the product as well and integrated a lot of the Microsoft features. But for whatever their reasons, they decided to take the model and put it behind their paywall, making it not accessible or as accessible to people who had been used to it before and had always used it without being a Microsoft only EdTech tool. So there's kind of been a little bit of a void, but I think there's a few products that are now out there that are starting to become, I think, serviceable and usable by educators in different settings. None of them are going to be the full-fledged product that Flipgrid was before they kind of went behind. So that's kind of why my plan here today is to kind of give you an overview of 3 different alternatives. And hopefully from those alternatives, you'll find one that may connect with you that you would like to give a try. And if that's the case, I and my colleague David Berner, who do the Integrate This podcast, have done more full tutorials on how to use each of these different products that I would point you to as like a next step to investigate how you would want to use this product, one of those products in whatever your capacity is. So I'm going to display my screen here to start with. The first one that I want us to take a look at is one called Gravity. Gravity is a tool that is focusing on that video sharing between teachers and students as a way to kind of enrich discussions, to have great conversations. The teacher initiates a prompt, the students can reply to that prompt via video. And then there's conversations that can take place between student to student as well as the teacher in the mix as well. It is one of these platforms that is freemium, right? Just like many other things, that there are certain things you can do for free, and then there are other features that if you want to be able to use them, you have to pay for. However, I do think Gravity, if you are going to use it to the point where you would want to pay for it, is pretty reasonable, or reasonably priced. For educators, it's like $6 a month. And I think there's a discount if you pay for it for the whole year, which to me is fairly reasonable, I guess. I'm going to log in here using my Google account, and it brings me to my dashboard here. So you can see I've got a couple of things in my dashboard. One of the things that you're going to do when you get here is you're going to want to establish a community. Under the free account, you can have one community here. I have one. I called it Political Science 111. And then within there, you can create folders for perhaps your different classes that you have that you would be sending something out for. So once I'm in here, then I can share out the code for students to join my particular class by using this code right here. You could do it one of 2 ways. You can either enter in the email addresses of the students that you wanted to send them to, like if you had them all, say in a spreadsheet, you could do that too. The other thing you can do is invite them to join using your join code. So basically, students would go to the same starting site that we had, and there's a spot for them to sign up or log in. And they would have to log in using their Google credentials, probably most likely to have their own account. That's one of the drawbacks of it. I'm going to show you a comparison chart later on, is that the students would need an account to be able to use it. But I also have linked their privacy policies to be concerned about that, obviously. So once I'm in here, I can go and I can create new folders. I can go and create what's called a quick prompt. The quick prompts are the ones that are free. In Gravity, you can create 1-minute videos, and as many of them as you want to, and as many of them as you want underneath the same prompt. So if it is something that's going to be a quick summary, quick response type of an activity, it's a great one to do. So I did one of these quick prompts just to test it out, and I called it Founding Documents, where I have myself introduce what it is. Um, can you hear it or not hear it play through my computer? I'm not sure. Okay. Um, So basically, I'm just kind of reading what the prompt is, right? So the students hear me giving what the prompt is. Then I can go in if I'm a student and I can respond to Jeremy. And if I do that, I did another one here. I'm going to go into this. You'll see that I'm showing it to you on the teacher side. If you want to see more of what the student side looks like, I would say definitely check out our tutorial video on our podcast, which I'll give you the link to that as well. But the student then creates their video in much the same way. And you could see that I made one response here from my student. My student made a video answering what the prompt was. And as the teacher, I can play it through here. And it goes through and attempts to answer it. Then as the teacher, when I've seen the student has made the reply to my initial prompt, I can go back and as the teacher, I can record another video response to them to let them know what I think of their and give them their feedback. Or I can also choose to make a text response to it if I don't want to take the time to video it. And so that's what I did here. This one, I said, "Hey, Jeremy, great name, by the way. You know, you're one cool dude, blah, blah, blah." And so the student then gets the feedback. The other thing that they can do is also get feedback from other students that are in the same class. And those would appear in the threads as part of the different conversation. It does have here, if I go back to my main dashboard, some premium integrations that they give you a sample with. This is a premium prompt which helps to use AI to help generate the prompts and to give some of the feedback. And you only get 3 of those. So no offense, guys, but I haven't wasted one of my 3 on my tech tidbit here. Not saying anything about that. But again, it's kind of a cool feature to have there is the AI integrations. So that's my quick high overview on Gravity. Any questions here before I jump to the next one? Kind of my idea is just to give you the overview of it here. Lisa?
Jeremy, did you say it was free or like there's a free version, but you have to pay if you want like the response features and stuff like that, or?
So I did say it is free to make as many quick prompts as you want, which are the 1-minute recordings. And I think you can send it out to up to 25 students in a class, I think is what it is. So again, they're trying to limit you. They really want to push you towards the premium. I get it. But the premium, I think, is fairly reasonable at like $6 a month. As that option. And then I think you can do longer length videos and have more students too.
So do you think like if a person was going to use this, that like they would have to reach out to the various schools and say, hey, I'm trying to use Gravity. Do you think it would be blocked, you know, like in Rush City, that like if I tried this, the kids in Rush wouldn't be able to use it because like I didn't have it on my list of tech things I might be using for the year?
That you would definitely have to ask them about. I can assume an answer from their tech coordinator, but I don't want to speak on his behalf.
I can assume his answer as well, but just email me if you want me to unblock it here.
Okay, because like, is it something that you like students need to be concerned about, or you know, like, are there issues?
I'm going to show a comparison chart at the end of them that will have links to the privacy policies of each one. I don't think so. It's a very small company. I've actually had conversations with the co-founder and another person within the company that agreed to do an interview with David and I for our podcast. So I think you can kind of, if it's something you're interested in, really check that out. And, I'll push you towards that longer version of it. But this shows you kind of the different pricing plans. It does say $12 a month, but notice right underneath it's a 50% discount for educators, and I think you get even more off if you pay for the full year at one time. Okay, the next one here I'm going to jump to is called Screencastify Submit. Screencastify has been around for a very, very long time. It definitely gained a lot of popularity during the pandemic and virtual learning time periods. I think they found that they needed to have some sort of an avenue where students could interact with their teachers by submitting videos. And so recently they came out with Screencastify Submit, which is their kind of student-facing platform. It does have some nice features here. I'm going to log into it. This is what it looks like here on their main account page. But I'm going to focus on this submit part because this is where you're going to create and share videos out with your students. Excuse me. Again, it looks like there's all sorts of different tools here on the side. Our podcast episode goes over what a lot of these other features here you can do with it, but I'm here just to kind of show you how to create an assignment and share it out with students. So I have a couple that I've made down here, but it's really easy. You just go up here and you click new assignment. You give the assignment a name, you give the instructions, whether or not you want to do a screen or a webcam recording. Then an interesting feature that they have here is the ability under the settings part here is it does integrate with Google Classroom. Now that's good and bad. It will create the assignment for you in Google Classroom, which is really, really slick and makes it very secure. For students to be able to use the tool in that kind of controlled environment, right? So that they don't need to create a separate account to be able to use it. They just use it through Google Classroom. However, what I found is the drawback of that is that as it's an assignment in Google Classroom, the only person that's able to view that video is the teacher. And the teacher can, and if that's the purpose of your assignment is just have the teacher view it, then it would work really, really well. If it's something you want students to be able to respond to each other, they're not going to be able to do that through an assignment created in Google Classroom. You would then need to generate the link, which then you have to have the student make an account for. So it's kind of a little bit of, depending on what your purpose is, could work really well, or you might have to open it up a little bit more. And so you can go through then, because it's a link, you can select whether you want students to be able to view all the videos and to comment on them. They do have some pretty high limits. I think it's 30 minutes is the amount of time that you can record in here. You might run out by a total amount, but it might say unlimited, but I don't know if it entirely is. And then you can set it up and be able to create these different assignments. So I'm just going to cancel this to actually show you the ones that I already created. So here's the one that I set up in Google Classroom. You can see that it's in Google Classroom because it has that icon there. So if I go over to my Classroom account and go into the classwork part, you could see that it created the assignment. It gave students the link to where they're going to record their video from. So they would go in and they would open it up. It might ask them to enable their microphone and camera on their device to be able to do it, and then start recording. Because I'm in here as a teacher, I'm not going to do that. If you want to see what the student-facing side looks like, definitely jump into the podcast episode that David and I made for that. But I did create a pretend one here by Bob Smith, and I can go in as the teacher and I can see the video here that Bob Smith made. And then I can give it my comments and my grade here in Google Classroom like I normally would. There's also the one in here where you create the assignment. And this is not through Google Classroom. So in other words, it would be set up so that students would be able to share back and forth with each other. I would just go into share assignment, copy the link, and post that for students in my LMS or whatever communication method that you use with those students. And then I would need to, as the teacher, come back to Screencastify to grade or assess or to view all of those different videos, because that's where they would be housed. Screencastify, though, honestly, is not that much for their premium platform here as well, where you can see some of the comparisons between what you can do for free and what you would have to do under this starter plan, which at $7 a month is not totally unreasonable, I think, either. So questions on Screencastify here. Again, if you want to see more of the details and the tutorial stuff, I'm going to give you a chart at the end that'll show you where to find all that stuff. All right. Then the final one here, and this one is a little bit more complicated to use perhaps. The other one's very easy. You can figure out how to use them, I think, just by kind of like playing around with it. This one is a little bit more it requires a little bit of thought to set up ahead of time. And it might take a little bit of kind of training the students how to do this. This is kind of what I call an app smash. We're taking FigJam, which is an online digital whiteboard. Great tool, entirely free for teachers. And so that's why I'm showing this, is because it's entirely free. But free means then that you don't have some of the convenient features that these other products have, right? But if you're willing to invest a little bit of time to help train your students on how to use this free tool, you can really use it as much as you want to. Now, if you're unfamiliar with FigJam and it's something you're interested in, again, David and I have another podcast about that, that walks you through FigJam, what it is and how to use it. So I'm taking this from this point for this demo that you are able to set up sections and cells and things within FigJam to be able to do this. So what I did here is I created some directions and I put it within this section that I named Political Science 111 for my class. Same direction as I had for the other videos. Then I created this table within there and made space within the table that would fit a video that students could record and then add to this FigJam board. It's pretty easy to add a video to this. If you go down to these features and select this plus button, and then under plugins, you'll find that there's a Vimeo plugin. And so the Vimeo is what they're using as their screen and camera recording tool. So I'm going to go and I'm going to choose Run. And it opens up this video recording tool here. I'm not going to actually record, because what I have found is if you are in a meeting and the camera is looking at you already, when you try to open up the camera to record you for Vimeo, it just gets really, really confused and like crashes on you. So don't do that. But to be able to use it if you're not in a Google Meet at the same time, it works pretty well. I go through, you see, I can choose to do the screen. I can choose to just do the camera of me, or I can choose to do both, which is basically the same as what you're able to do in any of the other two products as well. And then I go and I hit start recording, and then you record your video. You can preview it. If you like it, then you choose to submit it. And if you choose to submit it, it comes in as this clip that looks like this. And it might come in a weird spot over here. But because you have this table here, one of the things that you can do is you can have students themselves self-assign themselves to one of these cells within the table. Right? And then I claim this table as Jeremy's, and Jeremy recorded this video, and then he now has ownership of that cell and he can put his video in there. And then it becomes, think of it, it's kind of like Padlet in a way, where you can see the other people's posts that they have put into that particular document. And so now, as anyone who has access to this particular FigJam, I can go through and I can choose play. And, you know, if you're playing it from your computer, I guarantee you can hear it. But one of the things that I like about this is that you can also leave kind of some of those reactions to people's videos like you did in Flipgrid. If I go under the stamps and I want to say, good job, Jeremy, that's worth a thumbs up, and I can go and I can give him a thumbs up to his video, and it shows as a reaction that I viewed it. Now, one of the drawbacks, and I'm not going to say it's impossible, you're not going to be able to do this with this particular FigJam Vimeo Smash, is to leave a video recorded response to Jeremy. It is possible. You would just have to set it up differently than what I did. But I can also leave text comments if I want to here as well. I can go, here's a little sticky note, and I can click in the sticky note and say, well done, and I can leave that as a message to Jeremy with his video here too, if I want to. So you can imagine then filling in with different other students, again, as many as you want that would fill up this particular board. Okay, and I do give much more detailed directions about how to do this. Again, I'm just trying to give you this overview of this project and of the way of putting it together. So the final thing here, and I'm going to drop this link into the chat so that you have it. I did put together kind of a comparison chart between these three tools. So you'll see there's links to all of them. I do look at the pricing plans for all of them. Do they have single sign-on? Are they integrated with LMS? And mostly it was Google Classroom. I didn't see either one of them really integrate with Schoology yet, but it's definitely something that could be coming. What their limits are to use the free version. Does it require student accounts? I do have the links to each of their privacy policies. FigJam is owned by a company called Figma, so really I can only find the Figma one, but that's there. Whether it has some AI integrations available to it, its ease of use, whether or not it's available as a mobile app for like an iOS or Android device, which you can use all of them on the mobile app. It's just with Gravity and Screencastify, you would have to use the browser app, whether it's Chrome or Safari on that particular app to be able to do it. They don't have a standalone one. And then the final thing that's on there is where to go to find longer tutorials. If you found that one of these products looks like they're really good, is something you could use in place of how you used Flip previously, I would definitely point you to those different videos there as well. Awesome. Okay, I tried to go fast, but questions?
I just did a quick look on Schoology, and Screencastify is in there as an app that can be added on. I don't know in terms of the LMS integration or anything like that side of it, but it can be added on as an LTI app.
And with my conversation that I have with Gravity, LMS integration is in their future. They're relatively new, so they haven't quite gotten that far. Okay, perfect. If you do give any of these a try, you know, like a lot of how I talk about this stuff sometimes is theoretical. I think it'll work, but I'd love to hear back from people who have put it into practice. So if you give any of these ideas or any of these different products a try, I'd love to hear about how it goes for you, positives and negatives.
I tried Submit the other day, and I didn't realize that if you put it into Google Classroom, it doesn't allow for the responses. So thanks for that little tidbit. And then I also, they give you the options of doing like screen, or, you know, like the screen and the webcam. And so that's, I didn't like click on the right one. So when the kids did the first recording, you know, like it was their screen and then they were just this little picture in the corner. And so like if people are using the Screencastify Submit, just heads up about that, making sure you click on just the web camera and not the screen plus the web camera, because then they're just tiny in the corner.
Good tips.
Yeah.
I think, and I did one too. I forgot to check that my microphone was not unmuted, and thought I had recorded a whole, I think it was going to be about a 2-minute video, and I had to redo the whole thing. Not
Yeah.
that wasted a lot of time, but it's annoying. So,
It seemed to integrate well across all the sites. It was, I mean, everything is not going to be as nice as Flip. So I think we're all
Correct.
just like,
yeah, correct. So I think that's at the point where we're at, is we just need to accept that it's not going to have everything that you wanted from the previous ones. But if there's a way that you could still use it and get to the crux of where your learning is taking place, I think it's worth checking out.
yeah, thank you.
Yep.
Simple.
All right. Anything else? Fantastic. Have a great day, everyone.